The village of Inunaki was once a place of peace, its silence broken only by the wind, rustling leaves, and the occasional footsteps of passers-by. But one day, everything changed. It all began with the disappearance of a young girl named Hana. She had left home one evening and never returned. Her parents searched the entire village, but there was no sign of Hana. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months, yet she remained missing. Rumors began to spread throughout the village. Some said Hana had left willingly to start a new life. Others claimed she had been abducted by extraterrestrial beings. But there were those who insisted that Hana had fallen victim to an ancient curse that had plagued the village for centuries. The curse had begun after a villager had killed his faithful dog, Inu. Since then, every night the village was haunted by the howls and barks of dogs, even though there were no dogs left in the village. Residents reported seeing ghostly dogs roaming the streets and hearing their howls, which grew louder and more desperate with each passing day. One night, when the darkness was particularly thick and the silence particularly eerie, a loud howl echoed through the village. The residents emerged from their homes to investigate and saw a large black dog with red eyes prowling the streets, emitting ominous howls. Some claimed it was the ghost of Inu, returning to avenge his death. From then on, no one dared to venture out at night, and the disappearances continued. Hana was just one of many victims of the curse that still loomed over Inunaki village. The residents were afraid to even whisper about the curse, fearing they might awaken it and become its next victims. Yet, on dark nights when the wind rustled through the leaves and the howls of dogs echoed through the village, the residents heard a faint whisper on the wind, foretelling the next disappearance. The curse of Inunaki was alive, and no one knew when it would claim its next victim. With each passing day, the curse seemed to grow stronger. The villagers of Inunaki began to notice increasingly strange and frightening phenomena. Shadows transformed into eerie figures that vanished as soon as anyone approached. The sounds of dogs barking grew louder and clearer, even though there were no dogs left in the village. One night during a full moon, a strange ceremony began in the village. The residents of Inunaki, dressed in traditional clothing, gathered in the main square and began chanting prayers in an unknown language. They danced around a bonfire, emitting strange sounds and howling cries. A young couple, Kiko and Yuki, who had already witnessed the curse's effects, grew frightened. They realized that Inunaki village hid a dark secret and resolved to uncover it. They began researching and talking to the local residents, trying to understand what was happening in their village. One day they managed to find an old book about the village's ancient rituals. In it, they found mention of the curse that had been placed on the village after the death of a mighty warrior named Inu, who had been buried in these parts. The curse stated that Inu's soul would forever wander the village in the form of a black dog, bringing terror and fear to all who lived there. Kiko and Yuki decided that they needed to find Inu's grave and break the curse. They spent many days exploring the outskirts of the village and finally found an ancient tomb, abandoned and forgotten with the passage of time. They began to dig, and after many hours of work, they managed to find a tombstone with Inu's name on it. They read a prayer from the ancient book and placed all their hope for the village's salvation in the stone. Suddenly, the ground began to shake, and the spirit of Inu rose from the grave, taking the form of a huge black dog with red eyes. But this time, his gaze was not hostile, but full of gratitude. Inu's spirit explained that his soul had been trapped in this world because of unfinished business, and thanks to Kiko and Yuki, he had found peace. The curse was broken, and Inunaki village was no longer in danger. The villagers realized that the curse had been the result of fear and hatred, and that only love and compassion could bring true salvation. Since then, Inunaki village has become a place of peace and prosperity, and the residents remembered their past only as a lesson that true strength lies not in fear and hatred, but in love and compassion.